Hello, and welcome to The Meat Incident, a Terrace House podcast specifically made to make our friends and loved ones watch the TV show Terrace House and listen to this podcast. I'm joined as always, by Matt. Hi, Matt.
Hey, Matt.
We're here to talk about Terrace House, Aloha State, episodes 19 and 20. We are in part 3 of the quadrilogy of Aloha State, which blessedly they extended in the last set of episodes. Thank you, Terrace House.
Thank you
for this great extension. I'm so pleased.
We love Taishi. We want more of Taishi. Just keep filling up all of our video feeds with Taishi. Just like episode 20 was just nothing but Taishi.
It was a lot of Taishi.
It was 1,000% just Taishi.
It was a lot.
Yeah.
It was a lot. Yeah, it was a lot of Taishi. There was some other, luckily there's like some other, I mean, Taishi creates some of his own drama in 20.
Yeah, that's good.
By being kind of controlling. And also Anna is a little bit interesting in episode 20 because she's still kind of, I don't know how to, she's, I don't know, not great.
Yeah. She's doing things with Nikki and Taishi that are sus.
Yeah, Anna's just sus. I feel like she's one of those people that, like, you know, I mean, everyone is what do they say? Everyone is the author of their own story. Everyone's the main character in their own movie or whatever.
Characters.
But usually at a certain point, you gain sentience in the fact that, like, you're part of a group of you're part of a society. We live in a society.
We live in the society at PAX East.
Yes, we do. And but I feel like she doesn't. She's like that person. Every once in a while you run into someone, or like you'll be like, I assumed this thing about it, and someone else comes from another angle, like, I never assumed that, I assumed yes, and you're like, whoa. But like, it seems like everything that kind of goes on with Anna is from that other perspective that you're just like, are you kind of like here? Like, are you, what do you think about everything that's going on in this situation? And like the perspective is just kind of, I don't know, to me it's like a little wild, let's say. Yeah.
She's just weird.
Is that fair?
She's out there.
Yeah, I don't know, it just feels like she's not totally in sync with the reality that other people in the house might be dealing with, or she is purposefully trying to subvert it in a way that's like kind of underhanded and sneaky.
Yeah, I think she just wants like the attention. It's like she just wants Taishi pining after her, and it's just kind of
No, you're right.
That quo.
Yeah, she's just that's really all she's doing, is just trying to get some more of the attention back on herself, some more of that Taishi shine, which she doesn't actually really want. So sure,
she wants more screen time. You know, Taishi's been taking it all up since he joined the house.
Rude of him.
Really selfish man.
Yeah, I don't know, whatever. Let's talk about what happened last time. Last time at Terrace House, Taishi forgot Anna existed for a minute because Nikki showed up and she's more attractive.
Taishi's eyes popped out of his head. He went, awooga, blah, 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 and took her out to dinner. Yeah,
they went out for dinner, and he's currently fighting this inner battle of what to do. You know, what is excuse me, what is a love worth fighting for? That's a ridiculous thing to say.
Yeah.
One.
I mean, they say that in like Mulan, when they're doing the hike before they find the burned down village, you know, a girl worth fighting for it. But that's like, they're actually like fighting the Huns, you know.
They're fighting like a literal enemy, and Taishi is fighting some, I don't know, stupidity, I guess. I would call it inner demons.
His inner demons, his inner...
no, he's fighting his own idiocy and weird standards that he's putting, like weird pressures that he's entirely putting on himself. Like, it's so self-imposed and like not necessary that everyone in the house, when they talk to him about it, is like, why are you doing this?
He's got to uphold the Bushido code, you know?
Yeah. And he will uphold it later in episode 20. So other than Taishi forgetting that Anna exists, we kind of talked about Anna being salty about the whole Taishi thing last episode. That also occurred. Like, she put on the apron. She like told Nikki about some of the stuff like with Taishi, how like he was like, I don't think you should touch other people if you aren't intending to kind of date them and stuff. And she kind of like told this girl who just showed up, clearly trying to like make Taishi look bad in the new girl's eyes. So that happened last time. Lauren left us last episode as well. R.I.P.
That was one of the last episode. It feels like a million years ago based upon the pace the show has been going since she left.
Yeah, it's true. It does feel like it was a while ago. There's one fly in my apartment, and it's decided now is the time to fly around my screens. This is fun.
Good. I just want someone to be on the podcast. Yo, I'm a big fan. The meeting said this is I finally made it.
Sick. Smells like shit in here. I'm hyped to be here.
Bon appetit.
Bon appetit. I fucking lose my mind. There's literally one. Okay. Other than Lauren leaving and that fly existing. What else happened last time? Avian and Yuya started going steady.
Mm-hmm.
Yay! Oh, spoiler. I'm just going to say this now because they're like kind of in this episode. They will leave at the end of episode 20. They announced that they're going to leave after this. Yay! Finally.
It's
not that they're bad. Yeah, they're totally fine people to have in the house, but at a certain point, like, I think, what's his name? The guy on the couch. The guy with the glasses who's like... Yamasato. I can never remember that man's name. Yamasato said, like, poked fun at, I think it might have been Yuya. But he was just kind of like, he like poked fun at their relationship. Was like, why are you on this show right now? Like, you're just like here in a nice couple. Why don't you just leave this show? And I'm like, yeah.
He's like, they're taking advantage of the opportunity. Just get the fuck out.
Yeah.
Like a lot of couples like on the show. Like once you go steady, just like, why are you in the house? Like they stop being exciting. They stop like
pretty unnecessary.
Dates. Nothing happens unless like the meat incident thing happens. So.
Yep. Yeah. Totes agree, dog. Totes agree, dog. So yeah, it's cool. They're gonna leave. I just figured we'd bring that up because there's some other stuff that happens with them, but that's exciting. And yeah, Taishi, he didn't. We already talked about this. He doesn't know what a love worth fighting for is. That happened last time. But that continues into these episodes. So
this episode turns into the guilty samurai.
Yes, he does. So the talking points for this time, several are rollovers. So guy got hurt last time?
Yeah.
Or was that guy got hurt. Oh no, that was the episode before this podcast. That was the podcast before the last one. Because he got hurt in the one before, then he went to Japan to hang out with Lauren. Now he's back and he met Nikki and he's like, oh, you're pretty fire. So yeah, guy, so this episode and these episodes, the talking points for what kind of has happened and what is going on. Guy is kind of going to try and overcome his surfing demons. That's a big part of episode 19. Taishi, Anna, Nikki love triangle is still going on. He is torn. That's still happening. He needs to find that love worth dying for. Anna is just salty. That's kind of a separate thing. It's related to it, but also Anna unleashes some salt towards Avian at a certain point, which I was like,
it's that salty ocean breeze, just kind of.
It's just stuck on her. It's blown on in, and she's trying to shake it off. So she's just salting the place up. Oh, Armin shows up.
Oh, dude, best thing about episode 19.
Yeah, episode 19 was a real snoozer until Armin showed up. Most of the action happens in episode 20 during these episodes. And then also there's some drama in episode 20 because Taishi has like a very like confrontational conversation with Yuya about what are you doing with your life, kid? Hey, kid.
He has like a confrontational conversation with Yuya, and then also like Anna and Avian, and just like all 20 is just like focus on Taishi, like either yelling at Yuya for not doing things right or being confused about his own emotions and feeling guilty about something that doesn't matter.
Yeah, pretty much. That sounds about right.
It's like 50 minutes of this Taishi getting all the screen time.
Yeah. It's a lot of Taishi. All right, let's jump right in. So the first thing, we can kind of just get out of this way. Guy is like trying to conquer his fears of the surfing demons. Yeah, I don't know how much we even want to like talk about this. It's like, but it just takes up like 10 minutes of that first episode, so I felt like we had to. He talks to, he goes to like the Volcom house at a certain point. He talks to a guy about it being, mentally difficult, and he was like, "You're fully physically healed, but it's mental," and he's like, "Yes." And then eventually he he does like get into the water and like he backs off of a bunch of waves, but then you finally see him like go down and do a few waves.
Yeah.
And it's very nice. And then after that, Taishi has a conversation with Guy, kind of like talking about how that all went or whatever. And Guy just kind of explains like, it's hard for me to talk to everyone about, like, I don't want to put my worries and concerns and fears on everyone else in the house about this whole thing. I don't want to seem like I'm playing it up or anything, and I'm not. But it's definitely, it's challenging for me, and it's hard to kind of deal with. And Taishi like got really worked up again and like almost cried during the scene for Guy. But he kind of, I feel like, he was supportive when Guy was kind of telling him this. And Taishi pulled Guy because he could tell Guy was like, even though he did the surfing, you could tell it was like difficult for him.
Guy was just kind of like sitting quietly in like the kitchen, and Taishi kind of like pulled him aside, like, "Hey man, what's going on?" And like Guy like understandably has like a bunch of PTSD because he almost died surfing like 2 weeks ago, and it's just like, dude, like I'm freaking out. Like I surfed a little bit today, but I was still like scared out of my mind. And some people just like say I'm just like acting or whatever, but I don't want anyone like worrying about me. I just want to like go out and like face the waves. Like it's like don't want to make a big deal of it. It's just like, and Taishi's like super supportive of him. Like
Yeah. Did you? I don't know. I don't know if there's much that we can like comment on or say about that, but it's like it feel like it's a dramatic. I don't know. It feels emotionally impactful and dramatic in a way that is good. I don't know. It was like an interesting part of the show, I guess. It's just like you felt for Guy. There's not like really a take I think we can have here. It just like felt like you really felt the pressure he was putting on himself and the fact that like he is still afraid because he really did feel like his life was in jeopardy. Yeah,
and like on top of that, he mentions that like that one beach has like all of the surfing sponsors like right there, like on that beach.
Yeah.
So he's like, so he's like out there in front of like all these sponsorships, and just like everyone's just kind of watching it. So it's like super stressful. And I'm almost died, and I'm like terrified of the water now. But he like went out and conquered his fears.
Yeah.
Which is like better than me because. Have you ever been to like a wave pool? Like I hate those so much. I feel like I almost drown in like every wave pool I ever go into, so I just can never ever go back into those. That's
pretty understandable though. I've never been into a wave pool. If it seems like they're a little dangerous. Because it's just like manufactured large waves that are
like
it's like
people packed like sardines, and it's just like
you
like flipped upside down and kind of get stuck underneath someone. It's just like the worst experience. So I mean, I feel for Guy. I had the exact same experience, but not really because
because you didn't almost die. You almost died under like another person's tube in the wave pool, not from hitting your head on like a
and there's also like lifeguards everywhere, so chances of me actually dying were slim, but
not if those lifeguards were paid off though. They were paid off so you could die.
The New Jersey mob at a Dorney Park paid them off to kill me off.
Yeah, so. They were like, hey, this fucking idiot's going down. They're really setting you up. So I don't know. Any other thoughts about that? I don't really have much. I just felt like we should talk about it because
guys, just like super cool,
Yeah, I'm proud of. I think we're probably both proud of Guy.
Yeah,
we're happy that he is. He did the thing. So I don't know. Should we just like, because the Armin thing happens like at the end of this episode, but in the beginning and middle there are things happen in terms of Taishi and Nikki kind of love triangle stuff.
Yeah.
We could just kind of, I don't know. I guess we could just kind of talk about the Armin stuff really quick, and then we'll go back and talk about the Taishi Nikki love triangle and its entirety, because that takes up more of the next episode too. And the Armin thing is just really quick. Armin like shows up. Armin and his girlfriend Martha. That's right. She has a super old Western name. Who on earth is named Martha anymore? That's so good. Armin and Martha show up, his 90-year-old grandma, to Terrace House. Martha, if you don't remember, is Armin's girlfriend from Boys and Girls in the City.
Yeah.
So they show up at Terrace House. They are going to just like drink and hang out with the Terrace House people. It's cool. They just have like a nice conversation. Armin like brings up at the dinner table when everyone's there, like, there's not a villain this year. And then like I think Avian or maybe Yuya was like, Anna. It's kind of a joke, but it's kind of not. She's the most quote unquote villainous type person.
Yeah,
Was it
Yuya
Yuya?
like points to Anna, but it's just like she's like nowhere near.
Oh,
Matt's camera just died.
It's fine.
She's nowhere near as like villainous as like Natsumi was, which is what I assume Armin was referring to. It's like, hey, you guys got any of those villains this year? Like Natsumi, who like murdered a small man child in front of us.
Yeah.
And they're like, no. But then also like him and Martha kind of like stirred the pot a little bit, like asked about relationships, and like the girls and the guys went off to talk about like who they want to bone, you know, just
right
laying it all out there.
Yeah, sorry about that. I forgot to turn the auto off feature on the camera. It's fine. Anyway, yeah, so yeah, he talks to them about like their relationships and like how it's going, and the long distance thing, right? You were kind of saying that.
Yeah, because like, I think Martha and Avian talk about like the long distance thing, and Martha gives like some pointers about like setting up like expectations about what you want to do, and like set up rules for yourself, because otherwise it's hard to convey your feelings, especially with men not being able to talk about their feelings.
Very difficult.
Taishi's really good about it, so I don't know what they're talking about. Clearly,
yeah, Taishi is very good at talking about his feelings. So come on, but yeah, it's interesting to see like Martha is clearly kind of struggling with the distance a little bit.
Yeah.
And Armin's kind of just like chilling.
Yeah.
But also I feel bad for Martha because she's like, Armin's setting up some business things so he can move to Japan in a year or two, and like we're in the future. Armin's not in Japan, so I'm assuming that they probably split up at some point.
She was
pretty much.
Definitely struggling with it, because it seemed like this is her first time in Hawaii, and previously she's relied on like Armin going back and forth to Japan for them to see each other. It's just like she's only like Hawaii for like a week, so it's just like yeah, it's rough.
Yeah,
and like the time difference is probably like super rough too. So it's just
I was kind of shocked that like they tried to make it work after he left. Just like knowing Armin from the show, it seems like a long distance thing. With a guy like that, he's just, he's just by the seat of his pants, waves and babes. So it's surprising to think that like he would try and make a long distance thing kind of work, but he's probably just like, whatever, we can do it. Like not really thinking about how difficult it would be. So yeah, it's rough. It's rough. Long distance is hard. Then the time zone thing, like you said, is rough.
Just like adds on to the difficulty, because they mentioned they missed some things just because of like the time difference and just missed opportunities. So it's just
That's why when Matt moves to California, if he gets I don't know if this is happening, but if he gets a job out there, me and him have to break up. So it's gonna be really hard.
Really hard. It's gonna be really hard to miss his two dads.
He's gonna be so torn up about it. All right, that was kind of the Armin scene. It was nice. Also, Armin is so fucking tan now that he's back in Hawaii. Or, like, he seems really tan compared to everyone else.
I mean, I'm saying, that's probably, like, why, Armin probably did have good intentions about setting up the business, but dude, that Hawaiian air probably just, like, chilled him the fuck down. He's like, dude, why would I ever leave this sweet, salty goodness that's just blowing in the air all day, every day, and go back to the Neo-Tokyo future that is Tokyo.
Yeah, he's got the waves and babes life. Why would you leave it?
Yeah.
All right, so that's that. That's the Armin portion. Yay, Armin was here. I like seeing it.
Yeah, it was good. It was good to see our boy come back. It was a breath of fresh air because nothing else really substantial happens in this episode.
Yep.
So
that is correct. All right, so let's move on to talking about the Taishi, Anna, Nikki love triangle. Basically, at this point, Taishi is trying to move on to Nikki and like reason it with everybody in the house, it seems.
Yeah.
It seems like he's very much trying to convince himself, but I don't know about you, Matt. I don't necessarily buy that it's super difficult for him.
Yeah. It's like so weird and just bad, everything he does about this, because even like this episode before Armin shows up, he's like talking to Nikki about like an interview and stuff, and they talk about Anna, and he's like, oh, I'm not clear like what things are going between us, and he's like, I'm thinking a lot, and Nikki's like, oh yeah, well, you'll figure it out. He's like, it's hard to think. It's hard to know what Anna's thinking. Nikki's like, it's hard to know what you're thinking. Like, fucking tell people what you're thinking, boy. And that's basically like,
that's kind of how like they get along with it this episode where he's like, I don't really know what is up with me. I'm still thinking it all through. Yeah, he just kind of makes it more like wishy-washy. Nikki had a conversation with Guy earlier in episode 19 where she asks him what the deal is before she talked to Taishi about it.
Yeah.
And Guy was just like, I don't know. He was like all doing a thing with Anna, but then you showed up and it seems like that's kind of a thing now. And it's hard for him because he's looking for a love worth dying for. And we told him just do what he wants. So then that kind of led Nikki to trying to clarify with Taishi, like, ha ha ha, what's up with you? What are you trying to do? And he said, Nikki asks Taishi how Taishi plays dumb. These are my notes. Taishi plays dumb, and when she pushes him, he's just not clear. He said he's thinking things over. Nikki said that she told us about the touching thing. Oh yeah, she tells Taishi that like Anna told Nikki about like the touching thing and that being like uncomfortable for her. And you know, maybe Anna isn't like maybe Anna took that the wrong way, and she thinks that you're not into her because of that, and not that you are jealous or that you want her to be interested. So it seems like almost like Nikki at this point was like trying to be like, yeah, if you are trying to get Anna, she is confused because of that conversation you had.
Well, I think like even like up to this point, like everyone just assumes that Taishi's like going after Anna, except with the guys who like heard him like, like, oh, Nikki's here now, but like still he was like, oh, but Anna, and Nikki's just like, yeah, you know, like kind of shitty. Like, I agree in your opinion about the touchy thing, but like, I don't know, from like Anna's opinion perspective, it's kind of shitty. It makes it feel like you're probably not interested in her, and like if you like someone, then you like wouldn't say that to their face the way that you said it. And Tasha's like, oh yeah, I should probably think about that. You know, I can't think I never know what she's thinking. It's like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, it's very like, I'm sure you have no idea what's going on. Later in episode 20, the critics couch kind of talk about like what is wrong with Taishi, like why is he agonizing over this? And yeah, I agree. It's like, you know, he's putting all this weird pressure on himself, looking for a love worth dying for. And like I feel like he's said that like probably 2 times or 3 times in these episodes. Yeah. And like every time it's like brought up, I really don't care for or respect anything about Taishi.
Yeah.
Is that bad? How do you feel every time that is brought up?
It's like every time it's brought up, like his conviction
it's just such
about
a
it
joke.
Gets worse. Like he's like, love worth dying for. Like before, like his conviction was fine. It's like, okay, it's like a bit weird, but sure. But now he's just like, it's just like some weird like restriction that he put on himself that he's like so keen on like filling up that like he's just like arbitrarily just like being a shithead. Just be like, I need to find a love worth dying for. I'm sorry I'm being a shithead, but that's just why I'm doing it. This is why I'm being a dick, because I have to do this. Otherwise, I wouldn't do this. But, you know, just because I'm doing this here now is why I'm being such a chud. And it's like, okay.
Yeah, basically. He's just, like, playing it up, and he's using, like, he needs to find this as an excuse. And I think he talks to Avian, so at the end of episode 20, he gives Nikki a drive to work, and he tries to set up
episode 19.
End of episode 19, he gives Nikki a drive to work, tries to set up a date for her that they will do later. And
Nikki's like wicked confused. She's like, what? Why are you asking me out? He's like, and that's like the end of the conversation. She's like, I don't. We'll talk about it later.
Because she isn't clear on what happened with, you know, she still doesn't know, like, she thinks Anna is still in the picture for him.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, like I was like, she assumes like Anna's still there. So like all of a sudden, like Taishi's like, yo, we should like go out somewhere. She's like, what? Like I wasn't expecting that.
Right.
What? It's like she's like, we'll talk about it later, I guess. Just drop me off by.
Yeah. So that was kind of weird. And then he talks to Avian about it in the next episode, and basically he just like, it seems like this is kind of the tipping point where he talks to Avian about it, where he's going to stop thinking about the Anna's. Well, I guess maybe not, because he talks to Anna about it later. But he talks to Avian about how he's interested in Nikki, and, you know, he needs to find a love worth dying for. He finds himself wavering from Anna, and I think Avian was like, is it just because Nikki's cute? And he's like, kinda. And she's like, okay, it's pretty direct. All right.
Even Avian was like stunned when he first mentioned that he's like, oh, I asked out Nikki. And Avian's like, what? You asked out Nikki? Like, what the fuck's going on in your life right now? He's like, you know, like, I'm wavering because Nikki's cute. And like in the past, I definitely would not have gone after Nikki. Like in the past, I would have been like completely dedicated to Anna. I would have like, I put my blinders on for Anna, but I gotta find my love worth dying for. So I guess I have to break Anna's heart and go after Nikki. And Avian's like, dude, what are you even like what are you saying right now? This is like weird bullshit. Stop agonizing so much over this and taking things too seriously.
Yeah. Also, she's like, yeah, you seem very focused. Like, you don't realize what's going on around you. And she's like, also, like, Lauren liked you, and like, you just kind of passed that up. And he was like, what? I don't know what you're talking about. She's like, yeah, Lauren was super into you, and you just had your weird love blinders on. You didn't notice. So
he's like, yeah, she's like, you had the love blinders on. You're just like really awkward with relationships, I guess, because you just didn't fucking notice that Lauren was like
super into him. You. Even though it's very obvious. Yeah. Man, this whole thing with Taishi is just like, the more we go over it, I'm just like, I'm so fucking done with this guy.
The worst part about this conversation is like, he's like, oh, like, I need to find my love worth dying for. And like, if I have to hurt someone to do it, that's what's going to have to happen. But my sense of purpose is stopping me from taking action. It's like, what are you saying?
I know, yeah.
The Bushido code is stopping me from hurting a woman's heart. It's like, well, dude, you gotta like pump the brakes and stop taking this like wicked seriously and just
yeah he's taking it far too seriously, and he like thinks it's the end of the world. And like, I don't know, this is stuff that like when you're in like high school, maybe early college, like be taking it this seriously and like being this extreme about it is kind of okay. But like, he's at an age now where it's like, you need to put some perspective on, like, this just isn't a big deal. It's just not. You went on like 2 dates with this one girl. If you just like were like, if he just didn't talk about it, I would say don't even talk to Anna about it. If you just like continue, like, or maybe, he did make his intentions actually pretty clear with her. Maybe just say like, if you're thinking about it, be like, hey, I think we went on those dates and they were fine, but I think I realized like we're not right for each other or whatever. Like, they had that conversation that didn't really go well, so that's like a pretty plausible thing that he could say at this point. So like, just break it off with her. Talked in like, tell, like, I don't know if Nikki knows. You involved everyone in this, so now Nikki kind of knows about it. So he would have to be like, yeah, I kind of broke stuff off with her, it wasn't working out or whatever, and like, we should hang out more. That's all you have to do. Instead, he's doing this weird bringing everybody into his finding a love worth dying for decision making, and it complicates the whole process in a way that is just stupid and annoying.
Do you know what I think it is? Which is dumb.
He sucks.
He's trying to play both the field. So like, he's like, I need a love worth dying for, but like, he doesn't want to end things with Anna in case things don't go well with Nikki, so he can go back to Anna to find his love worth dying for. So he's like, So he's like, he's like agonizing. Which one of them is like the love
that's
worth
100%. You hit it. That's 100% what's happening.
Yeah, so he's like agonizing over it because he doesn't want to like shut the door on like a potential love worth dying for thing. But he's just like stringing these two girls along, and everyone in the house knows it. And he just looks like a giant shithead because he's just like, because he could, because we'll talk about this conversation later. He does this very blunt with Anna, but he could have handled that way differently and way better like 2 episodes ago when Nikki showed up. So it's just like, what are you doing?
Yeah, for sure. But even that conversation with Anna, I think he's trying to even leave the door open a little bit there, because he's just saying, all right. So he then has a conversation with Anna where he basically tries to tell it to her straight, like, we had these 2 dates and it went well, but I'm just trying to figure out what's right for me, and like, I think I want to take Nikki out on some dates. Because, and like, I don't know how I feel about you and her, so like, that's what's happening or whatever. And she is just kind of like, that's okay, go for it.
Yeah. Well, like, Anna like approaches him because she heard from like,
she heard from the girls about like their weird, about like
him like asking Nikki out and being told by it. She's like, hey, like, what's happening? He's like, yeah, dude, I had like a lot of fun on our date together, but like, after Nikki came, like, I don't know if I want to continue things with you. And then I was like, you probably shouldn't be telling this like right to my face. Like, what are you saying? It's just like, he's like, I'm not sure if I like want to stay with you, like go after Nikki, I really want to ask Nikki out and get to know her. And he's like, okay, dude, you don't have to worry about it. Just like,
the way he presented it was still like, he's like, I'm not sure if I want to date you or Nikki. And it's like, well, it's probably good that you told her, but the way you told her was bad. Like, you should have just said like, yeah, well, yeah, I mean, he probably shouldn't have asked her out on a date if he was still leaving things with Anna open. And then he tries to close the loop with her, and he closes it in a poor way by saying, I'm not sure which one of you I like right now. And it's like, oh, all right, I guess. Like, if you're going to do one of these things, just like, I don't know, you can do that. You can like try and get to know multiple people and see who you like more, but either don't make it so obvious. Like, you could take them both out on dates and like get to know these two people, but because he's like so explicit about like trying to find a love worth dying for, that it's like he's like, you know, trying both of these. He's not going to like two different restaurants and like thinking about them later and like comparing them in like a fair way. It's like he's having like both of the restaurants like deliver to their house with the chef present and like trying them both out in front of one another. Like, it's like who is the best Italian dish in the Upper East Side? I'm gonna have, instead of just going to both of them and like thinking about it in his own mind, he's literally, you know, he's bringing them both to like that's not how things work. They're their own entities. I feel like this speaks to almost, if I want to like kind of bring this down to like a wider array of like what's wrong with like this type of very heteronormative like way to look at relationships and like the way men treat relationships. It's just like he sees them both as a prize to be won, and he's trying to figure out which is the best prize. And hey, they're their own fucking people. They're not a prize to be won. You should just get to know two of these other people and figure out which one you like more. Instead, he is literally saying, let me try these two objects and compare them against one another and then pick the best object, as if they do not have their own motives or their own desires or their own way of thinking. He's just like, steak, what knife A and steak knife B, and he cut. It's just like, you have to. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
And they'll definitely both still be there at the end of it, because, you know, they're just objects waiting to be swooped up by Taishi.
Yes, yeah, this definitely won't backfire in his face at all. I think what you said earlier could definitely come to fruition, where he's trying to get, you know, he tried out Anna, now he's gonna try out Nikki, and I think what'll happen is maybe, I don't think Nikki vibes with him, right? We've kind of picked up on that, so I think he's then gonna go back to what's her name? He's gonna go back to Anna after it fails, and I bet Anna turns him down.
Yeah,
that's No, I feel like that's a pretty safe bet, because Anna doesn't seem to vibe with him. He's gonna be like dejected about it and like try and go back and like work a thing out with her, and she's gonna be like, I'm good because I wasn't like, I wasn't your number one choice. A better option came around and you like went for that, and it's like, you can't do that.
In this conversation, that's exactly what he says. He's like, you know, I had so much fun with you. Like, all of our dates were really fun, but then, you know, Nikki came in and she's got that bod. So, you know, now I'm just going to go out with her.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah. It's just like, it's very dumb. He's just, I feel like I was mauling during this entire buildup of talking about the way he's treating this thing. And I guess I didn't put it together until that long-winded explanation I gave of his view of relationships and how it's like toxic and unhealthy.
Yeah.
It just, it's dumb, and I don't like it. Do you have any more? I don't know. How do you feel? How do you feel about Taishi and how this is going to go?
I mean, we can just like talk about the next scene. Well, there's the next scene of him practicing with the sword, but then the scene after that, which is him at the dinner table, straight up just asking Nikki out in front of both Anna and Guy, knowing that both of them are like invested in one of the other persons, and it was the most awkward thing I've ever experienced.
It was extremely awkward. So he has, after the whole debrief, after he kind of like slaps Anna in the face and is like, you're not pretty enough. The next he has this scene where he's like doing his samurai practice and like make a joke. It's like guilty samurai on the critic's couch, like you know, he's all like torn up about the thing, so he has to practice his sword play. And the next night at dinner, so he does what you said. He asks out Nikki in front of Guy, who's also interested in Nikki, and Anna, who he just was like, I'm kind of interested in Nikki. So
it's a look. Like, Nikki like was not about it whatsoever. He kept like, He's like, oh, like when are you free? She's like, I got work, and I'm going to Japan. He's like, oh, what about Monday? She's like, I don't know. We can go hiking with everyone. He's like, no, just the two of us. And like, it's like,
Yeah. Yeah. It's just awkward.
Yeah.
It's like very weird that he does it in front of everyone, and like she still isn't sure that he's asking her out on a date because it doesn't really call it a date, right? He talks about lunch. Oh yeah, he like it was like unclear. He's like, is this like a let's like go to lunch? But then like he said date, and she was like, is this a date? Like, didn't she say that in front of him?
No, guy got like super annoyed because I think like Taishi's been like, super wishy-washy, and guy's like, yo, it's just like, oh, he's like, Taishi, would you prefer a lunch or a date? And he's just like super annoyed at Taishi being like super like vague about everything. And Taishi's like, oh, I guess like not lunch. I want to like go out somewhere. And the guy just like leaves. Like it's just like Anna and guy just like on their phones, like while this is like all happening, pretending like
like they're not present. Yeah, and then but Nikki picks up on it and she's like, wait, is this lunch or a date? And then like so it's it's not clear to her still what's happening because he's trying to kind of be smooth about this, or like his intentions are 100% obvious to everybody at this point.
Yeah.
And it's just weird. It's weird that he asked her out in front of them. It's weird that he wasn't clear about what he wanted to do necessarily.
And even the way that he asked her out was just like super weird too. Just like him like listing dates and like trying to like almost like guilt her into like going out with him. It seemed like just like, oh, what about this day? What about this day? Oh, you're free here. We can go then hiking, bouldering, whatever. And she's like, I guess hiking. I don't know.
Yeah. It's super like slimy and like doesn't feel good. I don't know. How do you feel about the whole thing?
It doesn't feel good. It's like it's like what you said. It's just I don't like the way he's like so like kind of like was like super confident about what he was doing, but just like came off as like super gross and just like kind of like I agree. Like in the next scene, like in the girls' room, like they talk about how it seemed like he was like intentionally doing this in front of Anna. Like I kind of like agree with that because like everyone in that they're like, why did he do like at the dining room table in front of everyone? Like why would he do that? And I feel like it was intentionally him just like peeing on like his spot in front of like Guy and Anna type of thing. Yeah.
And Avian like kind of tried in that scene, like was like kind of trying to defend him and like he doesn't know, but Anna was like, I think he knows. Like he seems to think about this stuff. I think I actually agreed with Anna where like he overthinks things all the time.
Yeah.
So it almost does seem intentional because he overthinks things so much that like how
things so much like he would not be able to like do this unintentionally, not like overthink it.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's well, now we're going to like backtrack and then kind of we'll kind of backtrack and talk and then like also move into this do you want to talk about Anna stuff really quickly and then we can talk about Taishi v Yuya?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, because the Anna salt kind of I kind of didn't include some of that stuff in that, but we'll tie it in really quick. So because the Anna stuff is a little bit separate because it involves like Avian and what's his name? Yuya. Okay. Anyway. Oh my goodness, I'm dying. It's fine. We're fine.
Welcome to the cough cast.
Welcome to the cough cast. So there's a girl lunch date where before Taishi asked out Nikki in front of everybody, there's like a girl lunch date talking about that, where they talked about that situation for a bit, and like
it was before Anna confronted them. So this is like I guess where Anna kind of learned like what the fuck was happening with Taishi.
With Taishi being interested in Nikki. Yeah, so it kind of comes to the surface that like Taishi is interested in Nikki between all the girls here, and like he's trying to find a love worth dying for or whatever, and so she's like, that's what makes her sus and confront him about it. But the other part of this date that it isn't that big, but I kind of thought it was interesting that this is still happening, is Anna like kind of harshes on Yuya in front of Avian, and Avian like tries to defend him, and like she kind of reels back on it, but it was still kind of a thing that's like, I just wouldn't say that to someone. You don't insult someone's significant other or their kid or their parents. There's like just basic things that you usually should, unless like the person is blatantly like, let's say, I don't know, Matt's dad is like Nah, maybe should include, because this isn't like a real scenario and I don't want to like besmirch anyone's father. Let's say imaginary person A's father is literally a child abuser.
Yeah.
Then if I talk to his child who's my friend, Matt's father is not, by the way. This is literally a made up scenario. Just to make that clear. Then I'm friends with that person's friend. Then I can say to that person, your dad is an asshole. And it's like, okay. You know, or if somebody's in an abusive relationship and you're trying to get them out of it and be like, you know, this person's an abuser and you need to get out of this relationship. But if they're in like a healthy relationship, you can't like, you know, with whoever this other individual is, you can't like talk shit about them. Yeah. And so basically Anna is like, Yuya's pretty lazy because he's sleeping in and not going to his English classes. And that's kind of true. But it is rude to say to Avian, hey, your boyfriend's lazy. Get his dumb ass up and out the door. And maybe if you are friends with Avian for many years and Yuya can't hold down a job, Yuya's, you know, mooching off her, Yuya doesn't pay his half of the bills, Yuya's, you know what I mean? Like, if there's like a thing going on, but it's like they've been dating for like a month, you're not friends really with Avian at all, and you're bringing this up. I feel like it was kind of out of place to do, even if it's accurate, it still felt awkward and abrasive.
Yeah, it seems like it potentially came from like a good spot because like
I think it probably came from a sorry, go ahead.
Because she's like concerned about Yuya and stuff. She's like, but the way she approaches, she's like, oh yeah, Anna, like, I mean, she's like, oh yeah, Avian, like, how are things with Yuya? Like, I noticed that like he isn't going to school, and like Avian's like, oh, like school's not today. She's like, no, like the past like week he hasn't been going to school and has been like super lazy. And Avian's like, oh, you know, what can you do about that? Like, he just like sleeps in, and like Anna's like, I don't know, you could like wake him up and like crack the whip on him. But it's like, they just like started dating. Like, do you want to like control your boyfriend like right after you start dating and be like, okay, well now we're dating, you have to do like all these like expectations that you yourself may not even want to do anymore. Like,
it's not really like it seems like she's well intentioned because these aren't, you know, it's not like a huge thing that she's necessarily encouraging her to do. But it's also not like it was her approach. I think her approach has, in a lot of these instances, has just been poor. Like, on this occasion, she just said, hey, seems like your boyfriend's lazy. You gotta wake that loser up. You know what I mean? Essentially. And it's just like, hey, who are you? Fucking what? Like, I don't know.
Like, the approach is like super bad. Like, she could have just been like, hey, is everything okay with you? Like, I noticed he hasn't been going to school lately.
Yeah, you could lightly ask about it, be like, yeah, he's not going to school, but yeah, exactly. Sorry, go ahead.
That's it. She'd be like, yeah, like, someone doesn't. Is he cool? Is everything good with him? Like, he hasn't been going to school. Like, what's up with that? Instead of being like, Yuya is a lazy piece of shit. She's not going to school, and you need to make sure that he's doing what he needs to do. And it's just like, what?
Yeah, I really was like, oh, that's the kind of thing that like you could expect really catty suburban moms to do to one another who aren't friends, but they know like someone's husband lost a job. Like, what's wrong with Jeff? He hasn't been working for a while. I've seen him, you know, walking the dog in the middle of the day, so he doesn't have a job, huh? What's up with Jeff? Like, like you could totally see that this is like that conversation. So like, I don't know. That's almost maybe like one of the biggest disses I could throw on someone, that like Anna is like being a real Karen here. It's just like really imposing herself on a situation that doesn't fucking concern her. Like, it just doesn't. Like, you don't have this person's friendship or respect. Maybe don't put yourself in this position. Maybe don't.
Yeah. So, it's like it's definitely like the neighborhood mom is like poking things with the stick because she knows like arise out of like the enemy, the frenemy, as it were.
Yes, exactly.
Like, while you're power walking together, it's like, oh, I've seen like, you know, Steve working around the house a lot more these days than usual, and he hasn't really taken his car out of the garage. What's up with that, huh? Everything okay?
Yeah,
you need some help from me and my trophy husband.
Yeah, you've obviously came to the conclusion, maybe like don't make the person feel bad or weird about the situation. Yeah, so that was a thing. And then the other kind of, this isn't necessarily, well, it's Anna's salt, but it like is maybe deserved salt, where in the girls' room after the date plans are made, Anna talks about how hey, like, he did this thing with me where he told me, so in between the girls' lunch and then the girls' bedroom conversation, there's the confrontation between Taishi and Anna where he tells her, I'm not interested in you, essentially. I'm interested in Nikki now. And then he asks Nikki out in front of her. Right, yeah. So this is immediately after he asks Nikki out in front of Anna. The girls are like in the room and she's just like, yeah, I confronted him about that, like what's up with him and what is he trying to do here. And he basically said like, I'm not interested in you, and I didn't even know what to say because it was so awkward, and I said, like, yeah, go for it, I guess. Like, why is he putting this on me?
Yeah.
And that's just, it's kind of her point is, like, why is he putting his feelings on me if he's not interested in me? He's, like, trying to,
But even, like, in the scene, like, Anna was still being kind of, like, catty, because, like, with Nikki, she's like, oh, like, when he asked me out, he was very clear that it was a date, so him and I went on a date, but you guys probably aren't going on a date. This is probably just for him to, like, make me jealous or get a reaction out of me. It's not about you at all, Nikki. It's just like, whoa, calm down.
Yeah. Her approach, again, was bad. That's what kind of what I was saying, where, like, her worldview is, like, very Anna-centric, And obviously everyone's, like, we were saying before, everyone's the whatever narrator of their own movie, main character in their own film. But it's, like, it's not necessarily about her. Or like she doesn't have to make Nikki feel bad because it's just about her. In this case, it is, it's about Nikki and Taishi. And he's just trying to kind of get away from Anna, who he had tried to date for a while. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of gross. The Critics Couch talked about it too, and they were like, Kentaro like hates Anna. And he's just like, Kentaro's the young boy on the Critics Couch, and he's like, why did that conversation happen? Why did you do that? Like, I agree. Like, if I was gonna, I don't know. If, like, the way she could have handled it would have just been like, hey, isn't Taishi, like, kind of gross for, I feel like that was weird for doing that in front of me.
Yeah.
Like, that didn't feel great. And, like, he told me off, essentially, the other day, so now he's just doing this in front of me. Like, it's kind of, it's both sides. Taishi is maybe doing, like, both things are true, even if they're, like, kind of opposed to one another. Taishi is, like, probably trying to, like, slight Anna in some ways, but then, like, in return, Anna is, like, slighting Nikki and Taishi. Yeah. And so, like, neither of them come off looking great after this, where it's like Taishi is kind of a dingus for all of this maneuvering, but also the way you're handling it is kind of dingusy as well, because she's like taking it out on Nikki kind of, and she's like taking it out on Nikki, but she always just like consistent, just like it's like bringing Taishi down. She's like, whenever like they talk about Taishi, she's always like, oh, Taishi's like basically like knocking him down like as much as possible, so it's being like super kind of like interested in him. Like even like when Nikki like first met Taishi, the first thing like Anna did is be like, oh, isn't like Taishi like kind of like the worst or whatever, just like bringing him down and bringing like always like bad things about it. It's like, dude, like calm down. Like, yeah. I feel like now it's more earned, but it was happening like when it, when she just showed up. I don't know. It seems like she's just raring to kind of rail on him at any point. Like now I think it's almost earned because like he had that weird, he talked to everybody about it. He brought everybody into it. Then he had that weird conversation with her, and it's like, okay, dude, like, what were you really trying to do here? But I agree, like, before, like, the apron thing, talking about, their conversation, like, their kind of conversation about, like, what he thought about, relationships or whatever. It's not, she's out to look for him, out to make him kind of look like trash at any turn that she can.
Yeah.
All right, so let's now talk about the remaining thing, which is maybe one of the most spicy things it's still regarding Taishi.
It's still with Taishi, baby. Nothing but Taishi.
Nothing but it's always been Taishi. I think we made that joke last time, and that's how we got to talking about that meme.
Yeah.
Is that the whole thing is Taishi.
I think so. Well, this definitely is now. It's always been Taishi.
It's always been Taishi. Yeah, we'll put that that'll be the name of the episode. It's always been Taishi.
Yeah.
Or it's all Taishi. It's always been Taishi. So at a certain point in episode 20, something happens. Taishi. Oh, really quick. Because this will come up in this conversation. Guy was chosen to possibly surf in the Olympics for the 2020 Tokyo Olympics. So he now has to make the decision if he's going to train and prepare for it, if he just wants to do his own surfer boy thing. He's saying, like, I don't necessarily like competitions like this or the Olympics because it puts this big pressure and like makes it weird and formal, and surfing is this natural thing with nature. And I totally understand what he's saying. It's like surfing is this beautiful part of like him interacting with nature and like being part of the waves and the earth, and like to make it part of like this very human structured thing, like competing in the Olympics over surfing is like, you know, it's like when they're doing the Olympics for like, they have like, I think they have skateboarding in the Olympics now, or they have, no, skateboarding isn't, but snowboarding, like freestyle snowboarding is, where they go off jumps and they do tricks and shit. And there are like skateboarding competitions that are like, you know, like very at a very high level that are very technical. And that type of snowboarding and skateboarding versus, and you know, probably surfing versus surfing in the Olympics is like, you're just trying to crunch as many high level skills as you can into a run that you can. And so you have to practice and practice and practice to train your muscles and train your reflexes in a way to bang out as many 360 no scopes on your skateboard or surfboard or whatever in that run that you can. And so it becomes very technical, and a lot of the way, you know, these people are athletes, but they're really like artists in a way. They like to freestyle and feel out the thing that they're doing, and they want to form it in a really freeform artistic manner. So then putting that into this box that says these are the most highly rated skills, put X, Y, and Z together, and if you do that, you will get a gold medal, is very different.
Yeah. It's also like, if you train for years to do that and like practice all that for years, so I think guys like also would just like kill his fun and love for the sport, because once you get like super technical, super like anal about everything, like you can't really go back to like the freeform spirit.
Yeah, exactly.
Or it's really hard to go back. You can still go back, but it's just like
it's difficult to get your mind in that.
Burning yourself out on like the sport.
Yeah, that's like, to be personal, it's like one of my struggles with like doing art after going to college for 3D, you know, to do 3D art for video games, and then like doing the video game thing for a bit, is like, it's so hard to not to think about just doing art as like an emotional like expression of like this thing that I want to make, and not as like a project. And it used to all be that, and now it's like almost impossible for me to think in it that way. So it's like very like, it can really like mess with like, once you kind of get turned into something, it's hard to see it as just like a pure expression after that, because you're thinking about the technical aspect of it so much. And I think you can still find joy. I still like doing art and like doing things with it, but I look at it in such a different way than I used to. And ignorance is bliss, I suppose.
Yeah.
All right. So that's the whole thing. He's got to mull that over.
This is really anyway the catalyst for the next scene of Taishi and Yuya.
Yeah. So Taishi has a conversation with Yuya. I'll try and boil it down. It was a pretty long conversation.
It's very long.
It's a very long conversation. The nut of this conversation is, it seems like Yuya isn't trying his hardest to get into the Hollywood acting sphere because of a few reasons. Because he's thinking about quitting doing the English lessons at the school. He hasn't really talked to Taishi about it a lot, and Taishi has done work in Hollywood. He's like done some commercials and things, and you know, and since then he's been in other things. You know, there's a resource for him, and he just kind of hangs out around the house and surfs a lot. So he's not really, you know, it seems like he needs to learn English well to do this thing. It seems like to Taishi that he's giving up on that part of it. He's not, what was the second thing I mentioned?
Not talking to Taishi.
Yeah, not really using him as a resource. And the third being, he's just like chilling and surfing a lot.
Yeah.
So Taishi confronts him about these things and basically says like, what are you doing? Like, is this your dream? Are you gonna pursue it? Why aren't you pursuing it? And Yuya just kind of tries to push back on it, like, no, it's still my dream, but I just don't know. I think I learn English better in while I'm working. I think I learn, and honestly, a lot of people learn languages better using them practically.
Yeah.
Sitting down and trying to learn a language is a very different thing than freeform using that language.
Yeah, and he
like
even
with
says, he's
people.
like, I'm like super unmotivated to go to school because it's just like sitting at a desk for like 6 hours a day.
Yeah, exactly. I totally get that. And Taishi brings up the fact that, like, look at Guy, and he's like, but that's Guy, like, Guy's a totally different thing. And he's like, yeah, but he's like, he's pushing towards, he's working at it every day. Like, what are you doing? And he's like, okay, I don't know. I'm just like trying to figure out, my own thing. I figured I could learn English while working and stuff. Yeah, I don't know. He doesn't he just kind of berates him, like, why haven't you asked me, about this? Because I've worked in Hollywood and I can tell you things. You haven't asked me at all. Why haven't you asked me? It's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like it is kind of like a wake up call. And I mean, to be fair, I think we might have talked about this before. Like, he's going to school for English, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we actually talked about this in a way that's like, what is Taishi up to? Because Taishi, before this episode, Taishi started taking English classes. And now Yuya's dipping out of English classes. And he's like, well, what's happening? Like, aren't you trying to work towards this? Like, so, I don't know. It seems like to Taishi that Yuya is giving up on his dream. And he doesn't think he can get there without following the same path. And he just kind of like roasts him on it.
Yeah, it's like I think for like Taishi, like after like hearing that Guy was gonna go to the Olympics, like Taishi started comparing his life to Guy's life. And he's like, yo, like I haven't really done anything in my life right now. Like I haven't accomplished like my own dreams. And then he like sees Yuya like not doing anything and like kind of following in Taishi's footsteps, but like just like wasting all this opportunity. He's like, like because like Taishi's like sitting by like watching Yuya like waste like all these opportunities to do better and like kind of just like not taking advantage of like Taishi's knowledge that could like really help him like actually accomplish this dream and stuff. And Taishi's just kind of like watching his potential wither away.
Yeah,
like, it's like good intention of like what he's trying to do and like wake up Yuya, but just like comes across as like super like controlling.
He's very aggressive.
Yeah, he gets like real mad about it at the end too. It's just like
he really kind of shouts and like sorry, go ahead.
He's like at the end he's like shouting and he's like everyone people like breaking the backs and just like your dream's gonna end before it even starts if you like don't like actually like pursue this. And like he's like keeps asking you like what he wants and like if he's okay with like his wife is like passing him by and like without him like actually like doing anything about it. And you was like, I don't know, I'm just kind of doing what I want to do right now.
And like not everyone this was super a what is your dream thing, this is like a very strong what's his name, Tap. This is a super strong clicked on another thing. This is like a very strong Tap moment where he's like, your dreams are gonna die, and it's kind of like, hey, maybe fucking chill the shit out here, dude. Like, this isn't your life. If he doesn't want to do it, you can't make someone do it. You can't make someone pursue something. You just can't.
Also, he was only like 19, and Taishi's like approaching it from his perspective of being like a 29-year-old, and it's just been like, you're wasting everything. You should be where I'm at right now, even though I'm 29. And Yuya's like, dude, maybe acting like isn't even like what he wants to do. He's only like just turned 19, like.
Yeah, and like I think some part of it is that he sees himself and he's like worried, like you're gonna, you're gonna end up like me.
You're gonna end
where
up
he's
like
like
old Taishi.
Yeah, like Taishi, he has some credits to his name on IMDb, but none of that stuff is really, like, none of that is, really, sorry, goodness great. All right, I'm getting messages from a work person. I'll just mute the desktop audio. Sorry. None of it's like really, I don't know. You can't force this on someone. Yeah. It's just not like relevant. Like it's relevant, but it's just like you can't force somebody else into realizing their future. Like people, I don't know, like most people have to learn through experience.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, sometimes like you have to fail a bunch of times before you realize like that you have to take X, Y, and Z steps to be successful. You can't just jump into something.
Yeah.
And like hit it off.
Why Taishi's like upset because Yuya's like half American, so like Taishi's like a lot more potential for you not to be immediately typecast as some like Japanese character like Taishi always is. So he's like, dude, like, like when he's trying to tell you like when he goes to Hollywood, he's not gonna be competing against like Japanese actors, but like American actors, and like he needs to like get his shit together.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, it seems like I think to a certain degree Taishi has a point.
Yeah,
but yeah, the way he handles it is really bad. And then he has a so that all occurs, and it's like kind of wild.
Yeah, I think he has like a point, but also just like I agree with like the critics couch that like. Yeah, coming from Taishi, someone who's like not successful at all in this industry, is kind of like, dude, like, why are you telling me this? Like from Taishi's perspective, it makes sense to try and like warn Yuya about this. But, like the way he went about it, like wasn't that? It was more like him trying to like tell Yuya like what to do. And from like Yuya's perspective, it's like, dude, Taishi, like, you don't even know like what the fuck you're doing. Like, why would I?
Yeah.
Listen to what
I
you're
bet
saying?
he has like a few movie things on his IMDb, and he probably maybe he gets some commercials here and there, so like he might be able to live on his work, but you know, there's a lot of people that can live on doing some stuff like that. He doesn't necessarily have to follow the path that you're going down to do it.
Yeah.
And Guy has a so there's like a day progresses, a bunch of people go surfing. And then after like dinner, what's his name? Taishi eats, and then like when Taishi eats, Yuya and everyone else is in the room, and then everyone kind of leaves, and it's just Taishi and Guy, and they basically like hash out like, Guy's like, hey man, I heard about your conversation with Yuya the other night, and he's like, I think it was a little too harsh. It seems like you went kind of hard on him. I don't think you can. I understand, you know, what you may be trying to do, but it seems like you approached it pretty bad. You made him feel really bad. Like, he seemed really distraught.
Also, to like Guy's credit, he's like, this is what it sounded like, but also I've only heard it from like Yuya's side, so if you can just like tell me what the fuck happened, then.
Yeah, exactly. Guy's the best. He's like, you know, what tell me like what you thought. And so Taishi's like, yeah, like I don't know, I like used you as an example as like someone who is working super hard and like achieving their dreams. And he's like, but he's not me, and like I'm not. He's like, yeah, but you're like, why can't I compare these two things? Like, why can't, like, you're going, like, you've been invited to the Olympics, you know, you're like doing it. And so I'm comparing, you know, his actions to yours, because it's like, you know, don't you want to achieve your dreams and be like Guy and whatever? And he's like, I think Guy's whole thing on it, Guy is like, he understands like that he's trying to help him, but Guy seemingly is also not the kind of person that would want to do that ever. He's like, maybe when I retire, I would tell someone how to do it, because his view on it is so much the opposite, where he's like, you don't have to take the same path to get to the same place, which is 100% accurate.
Yeah.
You know, even if Taishi was super successful and amazing in Hollywood, he could tell you all the steps he took, and it might not work for you, because you're not the same person.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I feel like we probably both saw this a lot, like going through the program we went through, where there was a lot of industry people that we had talked to after when we were going through college and when I graduated college about, take X, Y, and Z steps and you will be, you know, you can get a job and like be successful in this industry and like do it. And you can follow those steps that other people have done to get into an industry.
Yeah.
But if you don't mark your own path, if it's a difficult industry that requires a lot of grit and determination to get through and to stay passionate about and to stay caring about, if you don't forge your own path in some way, you're kind of going to be miserable, because you're living somebody else's path. You aren't marking it out for yourself. I really strongly felt like what Guy said here, because like I took a path into the game industry that if you had told younger Matt, I did it because at a certain point I was like, I'm in a college doing this, I'm doing, you know, I was walking down it. I was like, well, I'm here, I got to do this. This is the way I got to get into this industry.
Yeah. And
if you had told younger me these are the steps and this is what you have to do, I might have been like, I don't think so. You know, because it doesn't vibe with how I like to do things.
Yeah.
Sitting down and doing the same thing for 8 hours a day. I liked doing art because it was creative and fulfilling and my mind could wander. I could create worlds and do all this stuff. And to get to that point in the games industry, you have to be a mindless drone for like 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
That's not what I liked about doing it. So
to draw boxes for 10 years.
Sorry, I didn't hear.
So you have to draw boxes for 10 years.
Yeah. It's just, and it just, it didn't fit what I wanted to do with it.
Yeah.
Had I, my life could have been, you have to mark your own path because like, even if if I'm going to talk about myself for more, Matt, if that's okay.
Sure.
But, like my life could have been different if I had thought about how the kind of games that I wanted to make and made art that I really liked. I didn't care about 3D art before I went to college, but I was told you can't get a job doing 2D art in the video game industry. Come on, kid. And like, so I stopped drawing my own stuff. I just practiced replicating 3D objects that I was told would look good on a portfolio. And then I got a job replicating 3D objects that looked good in a video game and unwrapping boxes, 3-dimensional boxes for fucking, like a year and change. And I was like, hey, I hate this. And like, I could have arrived at like making indie game. Like I understand, that industry didn't exist, but if I had taken my own path and not, not necessarily walked down the path that was like painted for me, maybe I would have found myself in a place where I liked making video games still. I can still see how that could have been fun. And I've like every now and then I'll experiment in engines and I'll make stuff and whatever. And I'm like, I don't have time for this because I have a job. But it's just a whole, it's a whole thing. Like if Taishi follows the path that if Yuya walks down the same path that Taishi lays out for him, he might fucking hate it.
Yeah.
He might end up acting in some commercials. He might end up acting, being the Japanese person in some movies. And he might like hate that he's like getting typecasted, that he's not doing things that are with his vibe. He has to make his own way or else it's just not going to work for him.
Yeah, it's like the college thing, like those portfolios that you're making to get you into the industry is just like advertising yourself as like a wicked drone for like them to like make like boxes and stuff and like texture everything. It's like, yep, this is my portfolio of me being able to do the manual way that no one else wants to do, just so I can get into the industry. Like they don't super tell you about that when you're doing it. That this is the type of work you'll be doing your entire time because this is the only type of work that you're showcasing.
Yeah, and it's really just, and it makes, to a certain degree, I mean, Taishi is also acting, and there's the argument against it, which is, Taishi is like, but I know this kind of works, and I can see the path that can get you there, because he's experienced it, and so that's why he's saying, like, why aren't you using me as a resource? And that's really what I think, college is, and, it's what a lot of people are doing. They're trying to make the most sense for you. Yeah. Right. They're trying to say, hey, like this is a path to success. And when you're spending $40,000 a year on a degree or something, it makes sense that they do that. It's good that they do that.
Yeah.
But in another way, it's like, they are taking, they're saying like this is the way into it. And it's very difficult if you don't follow this way.
Yeah. Well, they give like the path of least resistance to up the chances of everyone finding like a job and being satisfied with the degree and talking about it.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. So you can't like badmouth the college or badmouth, he couldn't blame Taishi later and say, he molded me into this thing that I hated. He'd be like, he was just giving me the best advice that I could. Yeah. Right. And it's fair to a certain extent. Like, yeah. But at the same time, I don't know. Talking through this, it just made me think like guys, right? Yeah. Like also if somebody seeks out advice from you, then sure, if they ask you specific things. But I think giving unwanted really, this could be summed up as don't give people unwanted advice. Yeah.
Like, even Guy agrees, like, yeah, dude, you should be, like, asking you more questions. That makes sense, but, like, I don't know why it's not. And, like, the best thing about Guy is that, like Taishi, like, keeps, like, bringing guys' names to me. Guys, like, dude, just, like, stop bringing up my name. Stop bringing up my name with the Olympics. I have, like, nothing to do with this thing. Taishi's like, dude, but you're so good. He's like, I'm not at that level yet. Like, I'm not even there, and you're trying to, like, hoist me up to this, like, unattainable goal that even myself am not at. He's like, right. He also like points out that like he's like, dude, both you and Yuya are like not very experienced in this field, and you're just like trying to dish out like advice as if like super experienced. He's like, dude, just like chill out.
Yeah, for sure.
And then Yuya comes back
Yeah.
in.
Yeah, and Yuya comes back in. He's like, hey, man, like, you did inspire me. I talked to this guy, and I'm going to go out for different, I'm going to work at a place and learn English here in Hawaii, and I will go out for acting calls and stuff. And I think, like, it's good. I'm glad that Yuya was basically like, I'm going to get a part-time job to learn English. Yeah. Good. That's what he recognizes. That's the way that he learns English better, is by practicing it and using it in real life, which is totally fair. And he's still taking steps to try and get some work. So I don't know, I think that's fair.
Yeah, like he
good
comes
on
back.
him.
It's like, yeah, dude, like when I was like watching guys surf today for 3 hours, I thought about what you said. It's like, it felt like you were just like, Taishi was just telling me, like, I'm working hard, and if you don't work as hard as I am, you're gonna like fail. And you was like, I'm not gonna do that, but I did make some steps to like actually progress this and talk to like, some like casting director and whatever else you said. So
yeah, exactly. He like gave it real thought, which is like,
yeah,
almost good on Yuya for like not just brushing it off, because it was such a rough conversation. You could see it would be fair of him to not. It would be fair of him to just be like, that dude's crazy. Like, I don't know. Like,
yeah, well, when Taishi was like berating him, he definitely just like locked down and like backed out of the conversation. Just like, dude, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. Just like, stop talking to me right now.
Yeah, it's a lot to put on someone wwho's 19 years old and trying to figure out what to do with their lives. Like, it's just like, oh my God, I don't know. Yeah, if somebody had done that to me at 19, like, luckily everyone in my life, like, I don't know, you probably, I don't know if anyone, but like, when you're trying to figure out what you want to do and like where you want to go, like for college, or figure out, a career path or whatever, I was just kind of supporting, like, do whatever makes you happy and like figure out what you want to do. And I don't know, if somebody had like backed me into a corner and like yelled at me about like I'm not taking the right path, I would have been like, fuck, what do you do? I guess I won't do that. I guess I won't be in whatever industry you're in, because you're a fucking psycho.
Yeah. I hate that. So
are there more people like you there? Okay, no, not for me. Okay.
No, I'm good. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's just, it's wild.
Yeah, it's basically, that's basically the whole like Taishi guy thing.
Yeah, that's the whole Taishi thing where he just attacks he attacks Yuya, and then Guy has to like defend him and be like, hey, maybe it's not your way or the highway, and also it's definitely not just his way.
It's like, hey, Taishi, you're also an idiot, so don't be throwing out advice that you don't know what you're talking about. Also, stop like putting on this pedestal, because I'm just fucking surfing and living my dreams, so like, chill.
Yeah, he recognizes, and he's brought this up before, both of his parents surfed.
Yeah.
And they really made him into, the surfing boy that he is, and he loves it. It's good that he's into it, but like, it's also good that he recognizes that. Like, I've met other people who their parents very much mold their interests and their jobs later, and they have a superiority thing where it's like, hey, I was formed into this perfect machine to do this, so like, what's wrong with you? And it's like, I don't know, I wasn't like raised from the age of 5 years old to do one thing.
Yeah.
Like, that's a wild, you know what I mean? But like, it's great that Guy has perspective on that, and he's like, I don't know.
Yeah, his perspective, and I think he also like kind of regrets it too. He's like, yeah, dude, like, I feel like I was like forced into surfing. Like, I don't really know anything else in my life besides just this, because I've been doing it since I was 5 years old, because my parents just like jammed it down my throat.
Yeah. Guy, again, best person on the show.
Yeah, for sure. He's super chill.
He is super chill. Wow, I'm glad that I could get way too introspective on this podcast here today, Matt.
I mean, that's what it's all for. It's like free therapy for each other.
Yeah, me and Matt are just having a nice little therapy session. I'm glad that other people listen once in a while.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I was able to probably moderately eloquently put that together because I've thought about all this before.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But yeah, so there's nothing. The only other thing that happens in these episodes is, like I mentioned at the top, Yuya and Avian peace out.
Yeah,
so
they host like a house family get together barbecue on like the beach at sunset, and then they announce that they're leaving the house together.
Yeah, they're gonna leave together, and that's when Yuya is also like, I'm gonna work here. I'm staying in Hawaii. I'm gonna work here part time. I'm gonna learn English by going to school here, and I'm gonna audition and do things like that. And that's the end of the episode. Door closes. Do 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 do. Anyway, that was the end of these episodes. What did you? I guess they were technically good episodes because there was drama and there was things happening. Taishi showed his ass.
Yeah.
He really showed his, as they say on Twitter, really showed your ass on this one, Taishi. He really did. I don't know. I just talk about I don't like most things that Taishi is at this point.
Yeah. It always seems like he's coming from like a good place, except for like the thing with like Anna. It's just like, what the fuck are you doing?
think he's well intentioned, but it's his, I don't know. I want to say with some things he's well intentioned, but I think his intentions, he's well intentioned, but his intentions are bad. Like
I think he's
the
like
things with
super serious and like about like everything in his life, and it kind of comes across as like really jarring and like rough.
Yeah,
like, he doesn't get like everyone else not being as serious as he is all the time. So like he's very difficult communicating with people because he's like agonizing over these two girls when like to everyone else is like, dude, there's like two girls in the house. Like, why are you like so serious about finding a love worth dying for? Like, fucking chill out.
2 girls, 1 Tai. Yeah, this is just 2 girls, 1 Taishi. Like, calm down, dude.
Yeah. Can't wait for the new girl to come in and be 3 girls, 1 Taishi because.
Oh my god. No, I hope not. I don't even remember who else comes on this season, honestly.
Dude, I only remember like these people that are in the house right now for the most part.
Yeah, I can't remember past this at all. When Guy came in, it was kind of a surprise to me, but yeah, so that's, Taishi showed his ass with the whole girls thing, and he was really just like, with the Yuya thing, it's just like, yeah. I really hope, don't we know that Anna and Taishi stay for the remainder? Do we know that? I thought you might have said like that, like
think
they
Taishi stays very late, and maybe Anna too.
Oh my god! I really hope not. We have to thank them for creating drama in this episode, but I'm in such a bad place with the show right now. It was at least tasty. It was at least this was a meal.
Episode 19 sucked until Armin showed up because nothing happened. But at least episode 20, we actually finally got something that happened on this show in the Aloha State that wasn't just nothing. So maybe if Anna and Taishi do stay to the end, they'll sort of just like continually butt heads and cause this like overflowing drama cascade to boil up and explode in the house at some point.
Right. Maybe. Yeah, I hope some other stuff kind of happens. All right. Let's end this podcast. Right. Yeah. Do we have any? We do want to do our predictions. We'll do our predictions. I don't even know what to predict. The easy prediction is that the new girl is going to distract Taishi again from Nikki and Anna. Sure. I don't think either of them will be heartbroken about that. Maybe Anna will still try and do something, or maybe the new guy will get Anna's attention and that whole charade. Yeah, maybe that can all die with Anna. And if hopefully, with that happening, Guy and Nikki can just buck wild, you know? Oh, that'd be sick. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I guess my boring prediction is Taishi is the thing I said earlier where he tries to get with Nikki, it doesn't work out, and he tries to go back to Anna, and she's like, nah, bye. Yeah, that's my boring prediction. It's good. That's a good thing. It's good because it's probably what's going to happen, but yeah. And then my wild prediction is like, I don't know, Tom Cruise is like, comes on the show and he's like, you'll never be successful in Hollywood, Taishi, and then leaves. Unless you join Scientology. Unless you become a Scientologist. That'd be funny. God. Okay. All right. Good. Yeah. Predicted. We did it. We did it. All right. I guess let's thank Dylan at Teenage Goth Girl for the intro and outro music. Thank you, Dylan. I rebranded. I'm on all the social media and Twitch at Bagel Brother. Actually, social media, I'm at The Bagel Brother, and then Twitch, I'm Bagel Brother. Oh, man. Yep. Yeah, I rebranded. Don't worry about it. Honestly, the rebranding, I don't think I told you this, but the rebranding went too well. There were people that like I associated online with that I stayed friends with from when I streamed before, and they like knew that I changed my name, and I told them that I did, but they didn't register it because it wasn't the same name. And then when I changed my name back to having the word bagel in it, I got like 6 new followers that were people that I knew, like, and they started putting me on their stream and telling other people to watch me because they were like, oh, this is that guy from before that streamed. And I'm like, I told you this. I told you I was that guy under a new name. Yeah. So
I think like the couple of times I visited your stream, you were like, popping off with like close to like 10 viewers at a time. So
yeah, I don't know. Apparently the name Thick Stink was too putrid.
Not on my Christian Minecraft server, thank you.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of did it on like a feeling, and I don't know, I guess it worked out. So anyway, find me at Bagel Brother. I just like bagels. That's it. That's the whole story.
That's the only thing he took from New Jersey is that his love for bagels. And you'll never let you forget it.
Yeah, it's true. I'll never live in New Jersey again, and my love of bagels will be forever and sad. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's it. Thank you everybody for. Oh wait, did I? Yeah, I said our name. Oh wait, I didn't talk about Matt's social media. Matt's on social media at @mestruble.
It's fine.
He's still out there. You can find him.
It's fine. You don't have to follow me. I don't have a Twitch, so it's cool.
Matt's at @mestruble. Go find him on social media. He tweets things, and he'll whatever. Matt, neither of us got the new Xbox or the PlayStation reserved, right?
No,
we did not.
There's nothing.
They're sold out.
I want the PS5, but at some point I'll probably get it, but not right now. Nothing on launch day.
I'd like to get Demon Souls. That was apparently an error. They said it was going to also be out on PC, and it's not. So then there became a reason to get it for me, and I was like, well, fuck.
That's probably they probably had to like retrofit that. Like it probably was, but they're like, oh wait, we're not going to sell the console if it comes on PC. We have to get all the Demon Souls boys to.
People only want this remake of a game from like 2011. I mean, pretty accurate. It's accurate, actually.
The only other game is maybe the New Horizon game, but like,
yeah. Anyway, all right, that's been it, I guess. Until right,
yep.
We're good. Oh yeah, the podcast comes out every Friday at 5 a.m. Share it, share, comment, subscribe. Please tell us if you like the podcast.
Yeah. Well, we'll keep making it.
No one does,
but like,
we'll keep making it if you don't. But please do.
Yeah, please do. We're lonely.
Yeah, it's fine. Lonely. Don't sound that desperate. We're fine. We're fine without you.
Yeah. Yeah. We don't need you in our life. I will just find another girl to die for it. Love, die for it. We don't need your listens.
I'll find another podcast to die for.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, I should have said this. I made a new video on my YouTube at Bagel Brother. So I should promote. I promoted my Twitch, but I made a new YouTube video about a thing. So go find that. Anyway, until next time. I'm Matt.
And I'm Matt.
This is the meat incident.
We're very good at this. Bye.
We're great at this.